Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I am your host, Bodhi Papula, and with me I have Kaylee Horowitz.
Titan!
And Andy Gibby Gibson.
Discord cut off whatever you just said, so literally all I heard was
All right, hold on. Take two. Take two. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. My name is Bodhi Papula. I am your host, and with me I have Kaylee Horowitz.
Hi!
And Andy Gibby Gibson.
okay, now you're just gaslighting me because you definitely didn't make a sound there.
I did. Check the recording, baby.
Check the audio.
I won't be able to hear until I'm editing. I don't like this. You can just whisper
Suffer.
right in front of me. Stop it.
I'm not even whispering, though. That's the funny thing. I'm screaming into my mic. And not even like screaming. It's just my microphone doesn't like anime eccentric voice acting.
That's one of the things I miss from... you guys don't watch fighting games like I used to.
Fight or play?
Used to? I still
or watch?
do.
Fight?
Watch,
What
watch,
did I just
play,
say?
all that stuff.
You don't fighting games like I used to.
Yeah, you guys don't fight. You don't know my demons. I've been watching fighting video games for a significant portion of my life at this point. And one of the best things about old recordings of fighting games is that commentary was completely unhinged. It was awful. But
Oh, no.
every
On
once
like
in
an
a while.
Xbox mic.
Oh, yeah. Because half of them were just like in the back of a gym or in some dude's apartment. And it's a bunch of fat, sweaty
Peak-
guys.
Peak recording environments
Yeah,
right there.
exactly. And they just had like their Xbox Live mics or whatever microphone you can get for $20 at
Yeah.
your local CVS. And one of the best part about those old shitty microphones is something exciting would happen. Like somebody would get a big reversal. Yeah, exactly. They would go like, ah, and then the mics would shut off as
Yeah.
it's going. It's,
God, I love it. Like, I love stupid clipped audio. Like, audio that either just cuts off just like at the right amount, right time, or clips uncontrollably is so funny to me. I don't know why.
and then you have this grainy 180p video of, I don't know, Street Fighter 3 Smash Melee vibrating because they don't have good recording
Yes!
equipment either. And it's a bunch of nerds
Right,
like,
like, it's-
ah!
So they've just
It's
got
not a screen recorder. It's like a camera pointed at the game.
Yes,
Exactly.
dude. Ugh.
Oh, so like the CRT, like giant box TV is shaking because the room is actually shaking.
Yeah.
Because all the nerds are going wild. Frankly,
LAN party.
would it be nearly as iconic of a call if after one man shouts, Wombo Combo, they didn't immediately start peeking on their
Peeking
microphones
and like
screaming
destroying
incoherently.
it. Oh,
That-
where
that's
you
not-
at? Where you at?
That's not just reserved for fighting games. I've seen that in clips of the early X games where instead of
Interesting.
having like a professional telling the audience
Yeah.
what's happening or why it matters that somebody just did a 720 on a skateboard, you just have a bunch of like California stoners going, "Ah, I can't believe you did that." Now it's my turn for the Discord noise filter to have cut off my screaming.
The ghosts
Impeccable.
took Gibby's voice away.
Imagine just a generic dude bro screaming, and you'll have the idea.
It's the compilation that I think got passed around on like TikTok and Instagram at some point of just like people clipping like either internet like commentators or streamers,
Yeah.
but like they're all just like raptured suddenly in the video, like Moist Critical. Like it's this like there's a scream and then they like erase them from the video, like the audio cuts and they disappear from frame. That it is this just like whoop. Like it just montages it. That's so stupid.
But
that
it's beautiful.
Like, it's almost the same thing as like haha loud noise funny, but like the opposite where it's like noise gone. Ha,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Do you think that like part of the reason we enjoy old videos with like fractaled awful audio is because it feels familiar to how things were when we were growing up.
If I find it funny because
We
it
stopped
feels
perceiving
like
reality for time.
well, maybe it's funny because it feels like something breaks and the stakes are low enough to where it's still really funny.
Yeah.
You know,
Fair enough.
it's like this wasn't supposed to happen, but it's rad that it did.
True. The bounds of technology were broken because human emotion like overcame
We got
them.
too hype. We got
Yeah,
too
yeah,
hype,
yeah.
and this is where we are.
We got too fucking excited. I mean, in nowadays, like everybody has pristine audio equipment that like people 20 years ago could have only accessed through like a television studio.
Yeah.
Right.
So everything sounds perfect all the time.
And people yelling
Why do you
just
think I was
sounds
so
like
tethered to my Yeti Blue for so long? I couldn't believe that like I could afford something that's better quality and actually like just as expensive, if not maybe
Yeah.
slightly less after a couple of years.
yeah, and people yelling just sounds bad after a while, especially
Yeah.
again over the course of like an X Games or a fighting game tournament. It happens over and over and over again.
Mode.
Or
Yeah.
PWG from 2010 with Kevin Steen on the microphone shouting,
Oh.
El Generico is a big boy.
That's a joke for me and Gibby and
And
only.
nobody else. I'm here to exclude the audience.
Well, way to invite people into the show, Gibby. You've just
No.
alienated them all. Good
Some
job.
things are just for us. Some
No.
things we do for our own joy, not for the benefit of growing an audience or
You're
creating
gonna
a rapport.
betray mankind like that? What's
Damn.
wrong with you?
She's a professional, dude.
We're starting a new podcast, and it's only about obscure 2000s wrestling, and Bo and I are going to record on Xbox 360 microphones connected to the controllers,
Oh, I
and we're gonna
hope-
send the audio over Xbox Live audio messages.
You know, Kaylee had the perfect transition, and then Gibby like said, "No, I have something to say."
He's betraying humanity. He's abandoning the cause.
She
Bo.
did it
What
again.
do you want me to say
She did
here?
it again.
He's a traitor to the state.
It's Attack on Titan, y'all.
You don't need to put the sounds anymore. Just like let me do it in a very poor rendition.
Can you do all the rest of the theme songs as well?
No, because they're all fucking forgettable as shit, except for
Damn.
season 3 when they bring it back and just change the lyrics.
Wow. Damn.
I've said what I said, and I will say it with my chest.
Your audio just broke there for a second, and it is such a good time for audio to break after we were talking about all that.
So Attack on Titan. We're
Yep.
back. We're back on our anime bullshit.
Couldn't keep us away for too long.
No.
It never died, it was just resting,
It was just dormant under the ground in the
lying in
walls.
wait.
They were in the walls the whole time. Anyway.
Anyway, we decided to go with a big one.
You might even say it's colossal.
Oh.
You turn it off. Turn it down.
I can't. The button's broke. I can't stop it.
We wanted to tackle this a year ago, and then I said no. So here we are now. And
We put it off long enough, and now
we had to get it out of the way.
we kicked the can
eventually.
to the end of the sidewalk.
We could never do it when it was actually relevant.
Right.
We have to wait until after the cultural moment has passed.
Because that's what we're here for, baby. Bringing it back,
That is the
running
way.
it back. No, it's Wrath Month. It's July. Let's get a little angry. Let's do a little screaming. But Attack on Titan is honestly a turning point in at least the American perception of anime.
Yeah.
I don't know where you guys were in terms of media consumption.
When that day humanity
When
received a grim reminder.
Okay, god damn.
This show is so fucking quotable. And that's not always a compliment,
Yeah.
is the unfortunate thing.
I recognize I know Attack on Titan. There's a couple of anime that persist in like general American zeitgeist. Maybe that's the right word. I don't know.
Cultural knowledge and zeitgeist.
Yeah, that I'm like, hey, why this one?
Yeah.
There's 3 in particular.
Naruto.
No, Naruto makes sense to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you just meant like as a whole, that I was like, oh,
No.
I wonder if I can name them. But that they give questions
there's
as of
3
why.
that
Okay.
don't make sense. Like, because there's stuff like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto.
Sure.
All that stuff makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
One Piece, it's been around for 1,000 episodes for a reason.
One Piece is starting to get there. The 3 that don't make sense to me are Demon Slayer, Hunter x Hunter, and Attack on Titan. Mostly because I'm an old weeb, so I don't watch anime anymore. I read manga, and then when I see a manga I'm reading gets an anime, I'm like, okay, they made it.
Old
right.
man Bo yells at anime.
Basically, it takes too long. I don't like the voices anymore. I just want to read the thing and be done with it. But Attack on Titan back in 2013 was one of the things, you know, people would approach me and be like, hey, you watch anime, right? Tell me about this one. Be like, really, this one? And even still, I still see like Surveyor Corpse merch on people every once in a while. And or Mikasa shirts. Before we started recording, we were talking about Billie Eilish's favorite anime is Attack on Titan. And I remember the first time I saw that little girl, she was wearing an Attack on Titan t-shirt, and that's what I was like, oh, anime is mainstream. Right.
I need Billie Eilish and Megan Thee Stallion to have like an anime off.
Ooh.
That
Megan Thee
would be
Stallion
pretty
watches
sick.
One Piece though, so she's
Megan
my
Thee
queen.
Stallion watches JoJo.
Yeah, I was about to say.
she's my queen. She wins.
She does JoJo cosplay.
Miss The Stallion, 100% crispy. If you want to come on the pod, please.
Dude, you are going to
Yeah.
have trouble when the only day that we have available is the day that both Megan Thee Stallion and Jamie Lee Curtis want to come on.
She can get on the sticks.
And you only have 2 controllers to play.
We go in, it's Street Fighter 6 is a 2-player game. We go in rotation. Winner stays on.
Okay.
Best
We have to
2 out of
bracket
3.
this
You
shit,
rotate. You
apparently.
rotate, man. I've been here before.
This is my couch. I've
Megan
been here.
There's 2 E's. Miss The Stallion. Miss Lee Curtis. Let's play some Street Fighter.
Wait.
You're
wait,
welcome to come on. Let's do it.
Wait. Jamie the Curtis.
No, Jamie Lee Curtis.
I'm gonna end the episode right now.
Please tell us about why you were confused why Attack on Titan became the.
It doesn't make
animated.
sense to me because I don't think it's great. And this is before I finished it.
To be fair, though, this show I don't remember, and I also know even less, unfortunately, because my tiny little pea brain has less of an attention span. I had to be, like, basically restrained and held at gunpoint to read manga, namely by my friends in high school going, I'm letting you borrow this for 3 days. You have until then to read it. Read it.
Weeb peer pressure. It's powerful.
I would try to keep up with series, and I was always very bad at it versus people that were like just like consuming books and just obtaining more manga collections. So I never really kept up with like manga, especially for like Attack on Titan. But I remember when the anime dropped, like when that was happening, because that was like what, 2012, 2013.
2013.
And suddenly at MetroCon, just this flood of scouts was everywhere at this convention center. Like you sort of have the like fandoms that like hold space, like all right, here's Naruto, here's One Piece, here's like your sort of main pillars. Bleach still had things going at the time. That was a year that I was especially involved in like TF2 groups that were super popular. Like you have your sort of main camps that even people who don't watch or read or play a thing go, I know that. I know you. Yeah, I see this online. We are exchanging culture and have a relative understanding of like what the things are that we're looking at. But just suddenly then like, here's all these fucking nerds running around in green cloaks and like two guys in like muscle like human form body suits that are just
Slim
running
good
around
body.
with them. That I'm just like, what is this?
How'd this happen?
Yeah. Gibby.
Well, I'll tell you how it happened.
Okay.
Because I was among the perfect crop of people to be indoctrinated into
Oh, that's
this.
true, because you weren't an anime boy.
I was not an anime boy. I had a few friends show me some stuff outside of Pokemon in like elementary school. It really didn't stick.
Yeah.
And
Never
then
forget your first.
one day I just saw posters and art of this crazy looking show that had steampunk and giants and such. And I think what in part attracted 17-year-old me and all my buddies to this was, one, the material was really dark,
Yeah.
and two, it was kind of the perfect cultural jumping off point after the zombie phase was coming to an
Ooh.
end.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I
I
see
hadn't
that.
thought about that intersection.
So think about it like this. The zombie craze lasted from like the early 2000s right up until like it really got kind of stale around 2012-ish, 13.
Yeah.
There was still a lot of popular stuff like Call of Duty Zombies, The Walking Dead. It was mainstream. It was like the monster.
But once
Yeah.
you do Romeo and Juliet and Pride and Prejudice as zombies,
Yeah.
it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where it's like, we've seen so much of this, but I want the same but different.
Yeah.
Walking Dead was right around its peak.
Left 4 Dead also had peaked.
We wanted, like everything we ever want in culture, the same thing, but different.
Right. I want the thing I know I like, but I don't want the thing. I want a different thing, but I like this.
So in essence, what Attack on Titan gave us was zombies, but make them big.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is about one boy's quest for revenge against these giant, mindless, man-eating monsters. And then it gets complicated.
Then it gets anime.
Yeah, exactly. Then it gets anime.
When me and my buddies binged the whole thing in like a week, thanks to what I call the golden era of Netflix, when literally everything ever was
Truly.
on it before we had 30 different fucking streaming
2013
networks.
to 2016 was god
Mwah.
tier Netflix.
It was incredible. But
Yeah.
anyways, we watched through the whole thing and we were just like, this is the grim dark shit with steampunk elements and monster shit. Oh my god, they just killed the main character. Just kidding. He's back, but even more anime. Let's fucking go. There's
Yeah.
mysteries abound. What's happening? It was like lightning in a bottle for
Yeah.
us. And it was the first time that I ever went and sought out the manga for something after like speeding through the anime, because I was just like, I have to know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And that fixation started and it kept up until like 10 years later,
Yeah.
basically.
Damn. Good for you, though. Good consistency.
Yeah.
Some of the not actually funniest conversations I've had with Gibby are when Gibby's ran up to me excited. He's like, "Did you read the latest Attack on Titan?" I'm like, "No, I stopped reading it 5 years ago because I gave up halfway through."
I let that dream go, Gibby.
Yeah,
It's time you do too.
but I think that's an excellent point. So in terms of Western, I can only speak on American because that's what I am. Yeah. In terms of like American consumption of anime, it was kind of the perfect time when Attack on Titan came back because we had
Yeah.
seen a peak up until about 2008, 2010, when Toonami went away. And it was really, really hard to get any kind of anime consumption.
Yeah.
For kids like me and Kaylee, we ran to internet spaces, right? We had our blogs, and that's when you get the weird obsession. You get the like super weebs, right? That's where you start
Yeah.
seeing like Lucky Star, Haruhi, Suzumiya, stuff like that. Yeah, do you feel attacked? I watched it too.
I used to know the Lucky Star dance, thank you very much, and Haruhi Suzumiya.
Yeah. Tell us not to call you a nerd when you were a Hetalia kid.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
We all have things in our past.
But there was always this undercurrent of anime fandom and
Yeah.
weeb otaku culture.
And I remember kind of coming into it like, it's if you're sort of older man weeb generation, I came in sort of as the young spry coming in like 2008-9 going, you all know things I don't. What
Yeah.
are these that like it started to feel like that was the community's kind of greater sense. And I guess Attack on Titan, there's an interesting intersection of Attack on Titan and the like mainstreamification of like nerd culture and anime that's certainly a like longer conversation. But I remember the peak point that it came into being, we had a couple years for like the old guard to pass on to the new twerpy weebs. This is what these things are. This is where you find manga, anime. These are all kinds of different shows. And up until 2013, the community seemed to be building itself back into a place of like, no, there are a lot of people that like this, or people that come to realize actually this shit's pretty cool. It's not like cringy
You have
and nerdy.
this constant, like I said, the constant undercurrent. You have companies like Funimation coming into their stride because they're like, hey, we have these 7 voice actors. Anime isn't popular anymore. Everything's cheap. We're
We
just
have
gonna do
7
it.
voice actors. How can we milk them?
Exactly
dry?
right. We also have Crunchyroll, and this time go from one of the places where you got the best pirated anime to making official, like making deals with studios to be
I
like, okay, here's the
forgot
official
that's
release.
how Crunchyroll
That's how
started.
Crunchyroll started. It used to be where the scanlations and all that stuff, where people would just it would show on Japanese TV a couple of
and it would
weebs who
pop
lived
up
there.
somewhere there the next day.
You had so many fan communities just dedicated to putting subtitles on anime. And
I remember that.
that's how we got in, and Crunchyroll is like one of the main spots for that.
Parts 1 through 5 on YouTube.
Oh my god!
Shout out to like the overzealous fan dubs of all of them, where it's just like, fuck you, Sasuke. You used to be my friend.
You used to be my nakama, all according to Keikaku.
All according to Keikaku. Keikaku means plan in Japanese.
But you had all of these areas growing, and then to Gibby's credit, you did have stuff like the peak of zombie stuff, the peak of Marvel. Avengers had come out a couple of years before, which made comic book culture come back, which then led to things like zombies and comic books. Oh snap, here's The Walking Dead, which is both of those.
It's both.
And I know for me, the biggest cultural standpoint, folks would come to me, it's like, hey, what's Attack on Titan? I'm like, it's Game of Thrones, but anime. Right.
Oh yeah, culturally, I felt like I couldn't scroll more than a few pages down on Tumblr without running into it somewhere. Even if I was not in the fandom, I think the most I had ever seen Attack on Titan until watching it for this episode was Attack on Titan Abridged on YouTube.
Shout out to Team 4-Star.
Hans.
Bringing Game of Thrones up is actually a really good comparison. Game of Thrones and Attack on Titan are kind of linked by the fact that they made you feel like anybody at any point could die. You could get attached to a main character, and then all of a sudden by episode 9, Ned Stark's head is chopped off. Eren Yeager is eaten by a Titan in like episode 6 or so.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Attack on Titan Abridged.
God, you fake weebs, I'm the only real one anymore. But in essence, like The Walking Dead, like Game of Thrones, it really capitalized on the idea of you have to keep watching because you never know what's going to happen, because this show is unafraid to pull its punches.
Yeah.
Now, what we found over the course of the show was basically wasn't really true, and they were just getting rid of a bunch of cannon fodder early.
Yeah.
So what? Who cares? What it capitalized on early on was that drama of not knowing what could happen next. And I think there's one unsung hero that needs mention with the way that this took off, along with Crunchyroll and along with Netflix for just having fucking millions of shows. I think we need to talk about Hot Topic a little bit.
Why?
Oh, you're. I don't want to say you're right, but he's a little right.
Hot Topic originally was for emo kids
Yes.
and for punks who
Yes.
wanted to risk getting infected with an ear piercing because they wanted to piss their parents off.
And don't forget the rave kids.
Yes, the Rave Kids too. Basically a collection of alternative weirdos.
Spencer's kicked us out, so I have to buy my giant pants somewhere else.
Where else am I going to find all the chains to put on my pants so I sound
Where
like
else am I going to
Jacob
find
Marley?
my Gur hoodie for the rave?
Yeah. In essence, it was a store for the weird alternative kids.
Sure.
You know who else is another branch of the weird alternative kids?
Weebs.
The weebs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Weebs.
So the Hot Topic leaders essentially said, we're going to sell some shit. And as soon as like they started to carry...
We gotta cook, Jesse. We gotta sell nerd shit.
Essentially, like they capitalized on it. And it went from just being like a place where you could get pop punk shirts to the place where you could get like all the exclusive anime shirts
Yeah.
that you would have
do
to
remember
previously try to buy through some dude on a forum in Japan.
Yeah.
And it
Or
exploded.
Fight your way through a dealer's room at a convention 3
Yeah.
hours from home just to get
Yeah.
anything close to the same kind of goods, which pretty much all of those came from Japan, from foreign markets. Like those
Yeah.
were not widely available goods. Amazon did not exist quite in the capacity that it does
Yeah.
now.
And now it's just at the mall that you
Yeah.
can get,
Target.
like, it's
Yeah.
at fucking Target where it's like walk into the store and it's like, here's a Survey Corps hoodie. Here you go. It's it's a waifu pillow of Levi Ackerman. Go crazy, dude.
Right.
I'll take
Like,
5.
And the fact that it was just like there is partly what made people go,
Yeah.
damn. What is this? Look at that steampunk shit. This is when we still thought steampunk was cool. Sorry to our
Hey.
steampunk fan base. I'm sorry, Kaylee. It'll never be cool.
It won't be
Wait
cool.
till
Don't know what to tell
Leviathan
you.
comes out next year and then we will
Nope.
talk.
No.
Nope.
I am demanding we do and a Leviathan trilogy anime episode in 2025.
She
You
beat
mark
on
my
the
words.
table, man. We have to.
Well, you know, it's never who's
Scott
it's never who's
Westerfield
right.
did not just write The Uglies. He wrote a damn good trilogy of steampunk books about World War One.
Oh boy. Well, I guess the question is like we've answered
Hmm.
how this show began and
Yeah.
why it made
was
the impact that it did.
Yeah, like a lot of things lined up pretty, looking back, like, yeah, pretty damn nicely for it to take the world by storm as it did, so to speak.
Yeah.
we were living in a period of stability and we needed something to add an element of danger to our dull
On that
lives.
day, humanity
Stop
received.
it.
I guess the question is that's why it began and
Yes.
like got off like with such a hot start. How did it go for 10 more years
What
with
happened?
the popularity that it had?
What happened here? To be honest, I don't know, because again, like I had never watched until having to for this episode. And one of my big questions is the way that people talked about this show. Again, I know that there are a lot of like hiatuses, breaks
Hiatus-y.
in between, not just seasons, but
Yeah.
within a season there could be multiple breaks at a time. So I know that that's been just a long plaguing thing of this show, whether intentionally or not, to build suspense. But one thing that I realized, I always had the impression that certain like mysteries of the show came later, like spoilers, I guess.
It's at the top of the
reveal
episode.
of Aaron and Annie as Titans in basically the middle of season 1.
Yeah.
I thought that always was the impression of like, oh, it took us the whole season to figure that out. Whereas
no.
like we
No.
get to that point and then like halfway through season 1 we're really changing our fucking tune and are just like, all right, we've just reinvented mech fighting but with
Yeah.
flesh suits.
Yeah. You essentially go from like horror and survival
Yeah.
horror to like, yeah, like you said, meat mechs.
Yeah.
Meat mech.
I think we've kind of bordered on that a couple times, right? Like Haley said, you never forget your first. And we're in this weird position where a lot of people don't. Your Naruto's, your Dragon Balls, your Pokemon. I ask people this question all the time. What was your first anime? And they're always like, oh, this slightly obscure one to make me sound cool. It's like, you didn't watch Pokemon growing up. Oh, that doesn't count. It's like, yes,
Right.
it
Yeah, it
does.
does.
Right.
Get out of here,
It
Mickey
does.
Mouse.
So you have that. You also have, like you were saying, Gibby, you were 17 when you first watched this stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking also as a male who grew up watching anime, we
Mhm.
all have that phase where all we crave in anime is violence and titties.
Yeah.
And sometimes that doesn't go, and unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't go away. Which
I always
also-
wondered why. I always wondered as a 13-year-old, I'm like, who the fuck is watching High School of the Dead?
Me, I was.
Yeah. Yeah. There's my question answered.
But and unfortunately, a lot of folks don't grow out of that.
Mhm.
And that kind of leads to some of Attack on Titan's. We are a liberal artist podcast. It leads to some of the unfavorable fan bases that have emerged from Attack on Titan. Ventured into it. Those guys love a good angry guy who kills everybody. Unfortunately. But again, you couple it with all that stuff, and then the mysteries are like enticing enough for folks to come back every season. And the anime just looks fucking good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, hands down, it's a beautiful style. There are some the people aren't always, I mean, like, it's the style, and the style is consistent, but there are times where I'm just like, that's just a stupid fucking face.
It's
What is this?
Well, it's pretty
But
consistent with
the
anime.
fighting, the choreography, the backgrounds, the landscapes, like, there's a lot of
It's super
beautiful
consistent
work.
with a revival of anime that may or may not have been super well received as manga. They get these gorgeous, stunning looking animes, and all of a sudden their fan bases skyrocket. Again,
Yeah.
all three of the anime I said, I see these everywhere and I don't get
Yeah.
it. All three of them have gorgeous anime. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is another one that has a gorgeous, super stylized anime, and which brought it back into public opinion. It used to be the weird, obscure anime that only like guys who started drawing in the 80s would talk about.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stuff is in the Louvre. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Megan the Stallion wears cosplays from Golden Wind.
Exactly, right.
I
There's
will
Megan the
say, I
Stallion
think-
as Jolene.
Yes.
It just gets more and more popular as the longevity of the anime goes, and then how
And
the stylish.
I think
stuff
what
that
speaks
continues.
even more to like that, like, not just like, oh, hey, we've taken this manga and given it a beautiful, gorgeous, well crafted and capable adaptation, but like what speaks true to me is when I can, without having ever picked up a volume of the manga, watch pieces of an anime and like moments of stillness or moments that like lead up to a specific thing where I'm like, oh, this must have been like one of these like iconic frames. Like I can so clearly see this shot, this angle, this expression of a character. I can see this as a manga panel, and like being, even if it's had to change a little bit, if it's not quite, but like there are just those things that like stick out in that way to me if it's like adapted and done and translated well. That's like, yeah, clearly not only is there love and care and attention put into this, but like it was iconic to begin with. It's just a matter of like who was picking up the books to read it in the first place.
And that is really interesting because it's one of those that lasted so long that you get to see the evolution of an artist as well.
Yeah.
You get to see in like 2009 when the original artist came in, and it's very simplified, like the sort of stuff you see in the monthly Shonen Jump. But as it progresses over time, you see how much more detailed it gets because of like how much practice he gets.
Yeah, you
And-
just draw characters over and over again, and you
Isayama is the name.
Yeah, Isayama. Yeah, to essentially go from like super simple stuff in the first couple of chapters to even like 50 chapters in, just how much he's evolved with like an entire city block being leveled. The difference is pretty staggering when you take a look at it. And I think part of what makes it so, like, I'm not going to say timeless, but part of what made it so engrossing over a long period of time is that they introduced mysteries early and they made you wait, but they gave you little hints. And then for the most part, with the plot points, the mysteries really paid off. Like, the most iconic one that we heard memeified on Tumblr for like 5 years or something was what's in the basement. Like, episode 1, chapter 1, they introduce this thing where Aaron's dad is just like, hey, when you come back here one day, look at the basement, in the same way that they do like the Game of Thrones. I'll tell you who your mom is, Jon Snow. Oopsie, my head is off of my shoulders.
Right.
Like, for the reveal to not come until like dozens and dozens and dozens of chapters later or like seasons later, and then for it to drop a huge bomb later. Yeah, literally 3 seasons later, like near the end of the 3rd season, for them to go, hey, by the way, the world is 50 times as big as you thought it was, and your dad wasn't actually from this island nation. He's from another one. Let's work on some lore real quick.
Right.
That was really satisfying.
All right, let's talk about the narrative.
We don't have to do much.
Gibby wants to talk about the story.
Not much, just a little.
To your point of like well-laid mysteries, again, not speaking for the manga, however that was done, but I have some complaints about the way it's handled in this anime, because as much as it's like we do get questions answered and they are good and make you ask more, it is this jump we take from season 1 to 2 to 3 that I'm like, I'm getting so much fucking whiplash here, dude. What's going on?
Synopsis, real quick. Top of the episode, spoilers, whatever. We open this isolated world, isolated city, I should say, within walls, loosely Germanic, except for the one special Japanese girl who's stronger than everybody else.
I wonder why.
Because she's Japanese, but
not quite, but okay.
They small Germanic town, roughly Middle Ages, gets attacked by giant flesh creatures, look strangely human. We don't know what they're doing, what they want. All we know is that they eat people, and it's a problem.
Yeah. And guess what? There's one that's way bigger than every of the other ones.
Colossal, you might say.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Appears out of nowhere. And then like 2 episodes later, there's a new one, and it's Brock Lesnar.
He's got armor.
And they bust through some walls, and they let all the other ones in to eat people. It's not a good time.
They kill the mother of our titular character, Aaron Yeager, and he swears revenge on the Titans. And then
Very
he
shonen.
grows up to be approximately 16 years old, and goes to high school, but it's a military high school because it's anime.
I think he's 12 when he starts, because
13.
he's 15 at the
when they graduate. He's 15.
And then basically go through a fucking war in 4 months that they start joking like, oh, he's 15, he's at that age, you know, he just does edgy shit. So yeah, a twerpy 15-year-old by the end of this.
We then find out the Titans attack again. We find out Aaron himself can turn into a Titan when he's met with physical pain, and he is then driven to join the Survey Corps, the most dangerous, crazy sons of bitches who go out on the Titans' land and fight them. Yeehaw! Read by Levi Ackerman, who's a dick, but he's a good fighter, so we like him for some reason. Guess what? He's also Japanese, so that means he's stronger than everybody else. I don't get it either.
Except we don't know he's in Ackerman. We just know it's Captain Levi.
Oh, right.
And we
Sorry.
purposely don't know his last name for like an entire season.
There's so many fucking plot threads in this shit. shit.
There
Nobody
really
can ever
are.
expect
But then you
to
have
remember it all.
the core, the survey core led by Erwin Smith.
Who cares? Not important. Nobody cares about his name.
Oh,
As we
All
go
right.
on, we find out, of course, more of the kids in Aaron's class are also Titans.
die.
Some of them die. The ones who aren't as important die. And
You leave Marco alone.
Marco is bullshit. And
You sweet bean.
He's only half the man he used to be.
we find out a bunch of the kids his same age. That was really funny, actually. Are also Titans, and they have their own agenda. We find out Titans have intelligence. We keep going. We find out people can turn into Titans against their will. We keep going. There's a whole world out there. By the way, one of the girls who went to high school is actually the queen, or is supposed to be, and there's a whole side plot about that, and that's where I stopped watching originally because
she's a bastard, like literally, like
Yeah.
dad just had her out of wedlock, and he's actually secretly the king, because even the king isn't really the king. It's a shadow government.
And he's also a Titan, but he's a Titan who's cursed.
By the way, those two like big ass Titans that kicked off the plot, they're some of the high school friends.
They're also
And
high
like,
school kids.
Yeah, and they're like, hey,
also
by the
high
way, we're those guys. Do you want to join us?
No.
Not over exaggerating.
No.
That just happens.
And then there's
Pretty
another
much.
one. Then there's another Titan lady, Ymir.
Another
she became,
one.
She became a Titan on
Another
accident,
one.
but she's in love with the
Historia.
the one who was a bastard, the princess lady. I'm gonna stop going in the circle because I'll never move
and
on.
they're actually in love.
Anyway, they resolved that whole shit. Turns out there's a whole world out there, and they're all racist against the Titan people. And so the Titan people are used in wars, and they're sent out basically like bombs to go win wars for this one country. But they're second-class citizens because they're Titans and they're demons, and they're all banished to this one island, which is where our story takes place. However, we break out. Aaron says, I'm going to kill everybody. Everybody, Mr. Yeager? Everybody. And he goes into his villain arc for a little bit. And the scary fans go like, yes, this is what we wanted. And everybody else says, this is kind of crazy. More plot, more plot,
Aaron,
more plot, more
stop
plot.
it!
His
It's a
half
wild
brother's
fucking
there
ride.
because of course.
Right, his half brother is also killed a lot of important people and is hairy when he's a Titan,
His half
which
brother
is
literally
weird.
killed 200.
He's Bigfoot.
The entirety of the scout regiment is killed by Aaron's half brother. So
So with like all the villain arc, he's like, hey, bro, let's team up and how about we sterilize our entire people? Just kidding. I actually want to kill everybody else on the planet.
Right.
Plot twist.
It gets
it's a lot.
it's a lot.
It's a lot. The show's a lot.
Shows a lot. But I think and I hinted at it, right? Aside for me pointing out the weird nationalism in the show, I get it, right? If I wrote a black dude into this world, I'd be like, and he's the cool one, right?
You would never make an Urkel.
No, no,
you
no,
would
no,
make
no.
a Stefan.
Yeah. I've noticed when I see fan things, when I see people wearing merch, Attack on Titan merch in public, you see Dragon Ball merch, it's usually always Goku or something that symbolizes Goku. If it's Pokemon merch, it's damn near always Pikachu or a Pokeball. If it's Naruto merch, it's almost always Naruto. Sometimes it's the Akatsuki symbol, whatever. I very rarely see Aaron on fan merch.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to see, have you guys also noticed that? And I kind of want to poke your brains about why you think that.
The things that I remember, if I'm just backtracking through a variety of artist alleys and vendor halls at conventions, it's always various core capes, whether it's the scout regiment, and they're the green cape, the cloak, or the jackets with either the garrison or the military police, because here's like an just iconic piece of uniform that denotes where you are,
which faction
in
do you
this
belong
world.
to. Yeah.
But otherwise, character merch was either like Aaron was on some things, or like specifically like Aaron fans
Never alone.
were like looking
Never
for
alone.
that from like, like from like artists or other like sort of, I've made these prints, like I've drawn these characters, but apparel was always the Colossal Titan
Yep.
Levi,
Yep.
or some combination of like maybe the trio like of Armin, Mikasa, and Eren,
Mm-hmm.
or more often than not, just I think I remember a lot of just like it's Mikasa, just like
A lot
as a
of
design,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
her and Levi truly
Yep.
like ran
Yes.
away with the fan merch apparel.
Let me tell you this. As somebody who was a fan of the show,
Mhm.
it's very funny to look back and see the fact that we had an extremely popular show where nobody liked the main character.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the first show to do that, but it's always funny when it happens because then it's that like,
But like the fandom
Why?
response to it was Eren is a whiny little bitch and
Yes.
he's only important because he has the power to turn into a Titan.
Yeah.
And then you start to get to a point in like season 2 or 3 where it's like, hey, maybe this kid's actually kind of cool.
yeah.
And right before you
Oh,
can
no.
Yeah. Right before you can hit like purchase on your Eren Yeager t-shirt, the switch flips.
Just
as
when you
soon-
think dumbass boy has had a redemption.
Yeah, as soon as he
No.
gets his vision of the future / past at the end of season 3 or so, it goes, I don't want to be a person wearing Eren Yeager merch in public because then I'm going to get associated with the Jaegerists
Yep.
who are basically like 1 degree removed from like Stormfront
Right.
online.
Eren Yeager decides, hey, what if I ran life in a genocide run? And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
goes bad.
I'm going to protect my friends by killing everybody else.
I fight
on
for
the
my
planet.
friends.
I
And
kill
nobody
my
else.
friends.
You have like a very tragic character,
Yeah.
and tragic characters don't exactly make great merchandise
Yeah.
opportunities.
I have a slightly different take.
yeah.
Eren Yeager is not a character. One of the things that bothered me really early on about Attack on Titan is Mikasa specifically,
Mhm.
Yeah.
mostly because she's a powerful being with no agency.
Yeah.
Mikasa doesn't.
She-
She doesn't make her own decisions.
Yeah.
She serves as fuel to make sure Eren doesn't die. Basically,
Yeah.
She's simultaneously the incredible powerful swordsman and the fantasized demure Asian woman.
exactly.
Yeah.
She's both combined. She never makes her own decisions. She always says, "Well, I have
Yeah.
to do this for Eren," or "I
Yeah.
just want to be with Eren. I just want to do what Eren wants." And like you said, Eren's kind of a whiny 15-year-old dweeb with exceptional power. As the story proceeds, you learn that Eren did not become a Titan on accident. He became a specific special Titan thanks to the actions of his dad. So whatever power,
special boy.
right? So whatever
Special
power
boy.
he quote earned or deserved, he didn't. It was given to
Yeah.
him, and it was given to him as a tool. We then find out deep into the series, right? When Eren starts his genocide run, we find out it's not because of his own choice. It's not because of his own actions. It's because other people have convinced him, hey, this is the best way to proceed, because they want revenge for the country that was using the Titans as a weapon, because that country destroyed all of their countries and they want to see it fall. We then keep going to find out, hey, the special Titan that Eren is, the whole time he could see the future.
Yeah.
So Eren was never making decisions. Eren was following the script
Yeah.
the entire time. Eren Yeager is not a character. Eren Yeager is a gun.
Exactly.
And he is constantly
yeah.
pointed in a direction throughout the story, which makes him impossible to relate to, because whether this is a symptom or a cause, you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Mm.
In essence, like I completely agree with you, because Eren is a plot device when it comes down to it. He's a plot device who, for like most of the series, does not know he is one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
His central core like reason for being alive is he desires freedom. Yes, the revenge is important, but the monsters that are in his way are in his way of that freedom. He wants to fly among the
I want
birds
to go
up
to the
in the
sea.
clouds.
I want to go
Yeah.
to the water.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
be over there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's why one of the few truly joyous moments in the show is when they get past the wall and they get to step into the ocean for the first time.
Okay, it's so fucking beautiful, that moment. It's
Because
gorgeous.
They have achieved the goal right before he understands that.
Right before Aaron with emo hair over his face
Yeah.
stands dark and menacingly out in the
Yeah.
water while Armin and Mikasa are just having a good time on the shore.
Yeah.
And Aaron goes, what if we kill them all?
Yeah,
Aaron?
like
Aaron?
in essence, he finally gets this thing and then realizes he can't have it. He is so obsessed with freedom, but he is bound to a destiny that
Yeah.
he cannot control.
Yeah.
That was like foreseen many like years before he even came into the world. He's incredibly tragic as a character because he isn't a character.
Yeah.
And some of the discourse, again, we've danced around it, but some of the discourse when the series did end, you had the very weird people who were like, I wanted to see everybody die. I don't want to talk about those guys. But you
Weirdos.
also had,
They're a little weird.
yeah, you also had the discussion, is this too much like Nazi Germany and World War II
That's
or
the
Japan?
thing. Since season 4 started, all that
Yeah.
I had been seeing was like a double down on the criticism of Attack on Titan
Mm-hmm.
wants to comment on fascism, but backfires on itself
Yeah.
and invites people to go, that's a great idea.
Yeah, is Aaron Yeager a fascist? And I'm like, if you're asking that question, you missed the point.
Right.
No, it's because he's not. He doesn't have opinions. He's not a person.
Yeah.
He's a
The
weapon.
fucking people on Reddit who were like, Flock is right. They should kill them all. And
Right.
It's just like, as soon as I go into your history, there's going to be problems.
There's gonna be something scary.
You're
in
right.
there.
You're a
The
Flock
dark web.
sympathizer. I have questions.
Please leave the podcast. Please don't listen to this anymore.
No, like I remember the questions, like at least just the problem of Aaron certainly was always a like, yeah, I hear about this. Okay, that and then that tracks. And I think you're right. The idea that like, yeah, this isn't a character. This is a plot device. This is a gun. This is a bomb that we
Yeah.
can just have do whatever we need it to, and has goals and motivations, but like, oh, conveniently has been held up or is held back by these things for the time being. So we can either recount or slot these other pieces into place before it goes off. But I think being able to like sit and watch it, and especially not have to wait years between pieces, be able to just like watch it back to back to back. I think there's a question that I have, like certainly like going into it, just thinking of that conversation of is Attack on Titan like endorsing fascism accidentally? Not necessarily as Aaron, but this idea of military state fighting an enemy that is constantly, you have this understanding of you don't question, you just kill
Yeah.
until a whole new world shattering revelation occurs, and then we have to change our perception and just hunker down again on, nope, now we know it's this. Don't think, just kill it, because now we know the truth.
Yeah.
Until the truth changes again, until the truth, like, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, there's something interesting poking around in there that, honestly, I think more of my questions at first, like, again, until you get to season 4, where it's like, yep, we've cracked the whole world wide open now, and in these last 20 some odd episodes, we're gonna make up for all that lost time and dump all these things in and ask more questions, philosophical, and wax and lament about war. But up until then, when it's just the island parody and them fighting titans, more of my questions like lie with the way that the government and Erwin endorse and direct military use, where it's that like we're constantly asking, what is a sacrifice worth? What is a human life worth?
Yeah.
Are there times where it is worth something versus when it is not? And just the constant fact that is reminded about over and over and over and over again, that you stand on a mountain of corpses, but truly there's sort of your critique of like fascism is just this like, no, we are driving towards a goal no matter how many die along the way.
Yeah.
That's certainly a like, yeah, no, y'all make this out to be very noble and are not leaving your audience much room to question truly if it is.
I disagree. And maybe this is lost in translation between the anime and the manga, because the anime,
that's the other thing. I don't know if I'm missing pieces that are there in the manga. No,
the anime, at least in the ending, definitely adds stuff that I've read that really adds to context with how the ending ends up and makes it a little more satisfying. If we talk about specifically, what's his name? Erwin Smith, whatever. The leader,
mostly just because it's that like you have a leader of a semi-fascist-esque military regime, a man with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a lot of this, you know, feels
I think that's
a
more
little
because
like
they're German than because they're.
Well, yeah, it's a little Germanic, a little World War II coded. Cut to, oh, this is actually much less of a like removed world and more of an allegory for World War I and II. Great.
How the manga presents it, or at least how I read it, when it comes to Erwin, the death of Erwin, when he has his internal monologue, when he has to sacrifice all these soldiers, most of which are children, to defeat the ape titan, I believe it is.
The beast titan.
Sorry,
Zeke.
Yeah.
How menacing.
When that is presented, it's presented as Erwin sees himself as noble, but he's just as bad as everyone else.
Yeah.
We also, as that part of the series goes on, we see, all of these, even though these military leaders are revolutionizing and they're relatively better than the last guys who were in control, they're still running on the mountain of corpses. They're still torturing people for information. They're as ruthless as everyone else is, and is seen as at least I read it more as a product of war, as opposed to, look at all these noble sacrifices we're making for the greater good.
No. And I think there's definitely that, like, there's more nuance in that reading. However, clearly there's something along the line, and I don't know if it occurred before season 4 or if it just really showed up there because suddenly now we're putting everything in a context of, look, it's the mid 20th century and 2 world wars happened. Don't you recognize the Zeppelins? Look, which
and armbands
and hard cut to that episode of just and like here's ghettos. Grisha. I went, oh no, it's Full Metal Alchemist all over again. And then realized, this isn't like an alternate reality. This is just an allegory. Fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of an alternate reality because
like,
Mikasa,
kind of.
The Ackermans are specifically Japanese, even though it's like there might be a Japan. No, there is a Japan because there's the one senator or princess or whatever who works with them who's also Japanese.
Yes, she wears a kimono.
Yeah. And it turns out that Mikasa is like descended from Japanese royalty.
The Azumabito family.
Yes,
is the name of it.
Yeah.
No, and I mean more like alternate reality, as in like it, like a little more isekai, like where Grisha ended. Like these are people that like traveled between worlds to end up in the walls. No, they just were schlepped over here on a boat. Then kicked off a wall. That's what happened. That's just across the water. That was when I just sort of went, so we're just full, like, you've been hinting at allegory and then kind of hitting us over the head with it at the end of season 3 when Bertolt drops a colossal titan like a goddamn nuke.
Yeah.
That's when I went, okay, so we're just fully embracing the like, yep, let's think about atomic warfare, children.
Yeah.
Cut to exactly the images of young Grisha and his sister running around the ghetto with a Zeppelin flying overhead that I went, wait, what, are we truly pulling a Full Metal Alchemist here? What's happening? And then the next episode being like, no, this is the same place. It's just been, there's this whole, 50 times bigger
just a couple miles
world. Away. Yeah, just a couple miles away. That like gave me a lot of whiplash there of just like, all right, so it is allegory, but we're cutting out some pieces, but like harping on others, but
a little too close to real life. Give you been quiet for a second.
So I don't have as much to say about the allegories and everything, mostly because I really don't want to jump into the Japanese perspective on World War II. Because
mad
we're gonna
different.
find some, we're gonna find some bad stuff in there.
Yep.
German
That-
engineering is the strongest in the world. Sorry, that was.
I didn't expect the Third Reich to show up. Yeah. So,
We JoJo'd. I apologize.
well, what I'd rather talk about is the ending of the story,
Okay.
or at least the ending of the manga, because I said I was going to get around to watching the end of the anime, and I didn't. I read through the manga, and well, here's another Game of Thrones parallel. When the ending first came out, I think it's generous to say the response was mixed. In essence, what you have is at the end of Eren trying to end the world in order to save his friends, you get a final conversation in a dreamy like world between Mikasa and Eren. And after like multiple years of the manga with Eren, stone cold anti-hero villain, badass, da-ba-da, what we find out is at the core of it, he is still like the same whiny kid in some ways, where the biggest thing that people had issue with was him as like a 15-year-old again, like crying about like, Mikasa's mine, she shouldn't be with anybody else. And people were mad, mostly the fucking weirdo Jaegerists. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The fascist fans
Yeah.
were just like, how could Isayama do this to our king right now?
Our king.
Yeah,
Where is his lady? Where is his queen?
Yeah, and
Where is
and
my queen?
yeah, and not only that, it to an extent remedies itself from some of the grimdark stuff in that killing Eren also finally kills all of the Titans, to which, hey, congrats, Eren, you did it.
You saved
the
humanity.
Hooray, Patrick! We saved the city! Yeah. And people were mad that like it felt like right at the end it reverted course into like a happy ending when they still wanted like that edge and darkness.
Yeah.
But over time, people have softened on it because they see the artistic and authorial intent behind it when they couldn't with the immediate like shock reaction of it going on, versus something like Game of Thrones. I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones recently and I'm still pissed off about season 8. It's been like 6 years. I'm not letting that shit go.
Fair enough.
You essentially had a bunch of authors who were like, fuck it, finish it real quick. We've got Netflix shit to produce.
We want to go make Star Wars.
They didn't even get to make this Star Wars, so fuck them. Anyways, you have people going back and saying, yeah, it makes sense that at his core, Eren is still a bratty 15-year-old because he never had a choice in anything. Like, he's clinging on to what little like happiness he ever had. And also, something that I know that they did with the anime that I really appreciated, they go on to show that it's not all sunshine and rainbows forever. Yeah, it's going to be peaceful for a little while for all of his friends to live relatively normal, happy lives, but humanity is still going to go to war. There are still going to be petty squabbles that turn into gigantic conflicts. We've seen that in the context of the show for thousands of years with like the Eldians and the Marleyans getting on like the upper hand on each other for periods of time. And I appreciate that they at least contextualize that and we're just like, yeah, it's good for now, but being realistic, it's just that the playing field has evened. We have all that technology to kill each other. We just don't have a giant muscle man or a fucking cart person.
Yeah.
God, that's still so weird to me. Of all
that
the
it's
9
just-
special titans, one's just a horse.
That one
Yeah.
caught me off guard.
So people like have come around to it. I'm not going to say everybody loves it, but at the very least, people understand it. And in a lot of cases with media that runs for 10 years, that's good.
Something.
Yeah.
Like something like Game of Thrones, the popularity ended as soon as like this last episode dropped. People resented it and rejected it afterwards.
Yeah.
People still come back to Attack on Titan. Like, I'm not saying it was like it was in 2013 when everybody had their silly green capes and everything, but people still find things that they appreciate about it. Not usually the main characters, usually side characters, because that's every TV show
I was gonna say
ever.
that's every anime and TV show though ever
Yeah.
is you love your supporting cast way more than your main characters.
But I think people really appreciate how the show built on itself and how much Isayama really had planned,
Mhm.
because it's not something that you could have just flown by the seat of your pants like, say, the creators of Venture Brothers did. That's a really intricate world, but they admitted to like, hey, we throw paint at the wall and see what sticks, like when we get another season in 7 years.
Yeah.
This is something that he went into the creation of this with like a gigantic world in mind, but the beginning of it only being like
Sure.
a microscopic look at it. And I think
Which
that's pretty impressive.
Is not I think that's sort of the credit where credit's due, like in that regard of like the show. I feel like kind of, for me at least, whiplashes a little bit more, but I always am like hats off to someone that plans that far out but then is smart enough to go, yeah, and we're gonna start like pinhole size way to look at it, but even just that little glimpse feels so fucking big. Like that is great world building tactic to me that I don't think, for as much as I disagree kind of in the way that things get layered in as
Sure.
far as what do we start revealing first, and it feels like we've put this one thing on the back burner for ages and never talked about it ever again until now. A couple too many moments like that for my liking, but overall to be like, yeah, we're starting it in this place of like, there's titans and they eat people and it's scary, and that's only the beginning of it, is a crazy kind of just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
How big is it?
Yeah.
How big is the world? Answer, very big. And that's life, baby. Thanks,
Yeah.
Isayama, for the reminder.
I last thoughts and we'll call it quits. Attack on Titan is not a piece about people. It's a piece about war.
Mm-hmm.
And people just happen to be in wars. I think every character in this show, with little exception, we never talked about the crazy cowboy guy who shows up in the middle.
Kenny!
Yeah, we never talked about Kenny.
I did have that, like, why are there cowboys here now? Yeah. I did have that moment.
We lose
to
the
top
plot
of-
about halfway through, but
There's so much fucking shit.
But we get back there.
But we
do
get back.
get back.
And Attack on Titan isn't supposed to be about the people. It's supposed to be about the act of war. It's supposed to be about what war is and what war does to people. We've sensationalized it and we've put it in this magical anime world. But ultimately, and I think the ending, especially the anime ending, because the anime ending loosely hints that the Titans are going to come back. So in spite of
With the kid walking back into the magic
in spite
tree.
of everything that Eren had to go through, because I don't think he did anything. He didn't make any of his own choices. In spite of everything he had to go to, people still exist, so war will still happen. If you approach it viewing it that way, I think it's, in spite of the lore twists and turns, it's a lot easier to digest as opposed to trying to relate to and identify with some of the characters like so many people tried to and have over the years.
The point of the story is that Reiner has to suffer
Fuck him.
an absolute bastard.
Fuck his bitch ass.
They wouldn't even let that man die at the end. They were just like, you have to go on simping for the rest of your life, dummy.
Idiot.
Congrats on being the plot armor titan. It's time to have a bad time.
That has been this episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast. Hey, you listening right now, thanks for joining us, man. We really do appreciate it.
I love you.
Kaylee loves you. I don't.
Form a parasocial relationship with Kaylee.
If it's Kaylee instead of Aaron Yeager, then please do that.
Please don't turn me into a Titan. I would not know what to do with that responsibility, and I would just die in 13 years.
Follow us on Instagram at LibArtistPod. Leave 5-star reviews, do all the didgeridoos, like, comment, subscribe, all that nonsense. Join us next time when we start a riot.
Let's start a riot. Let's start a riot.
Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodhi Opapula, Kaylee Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to White Hot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
There's one thing that links them beyond the like medieval-esque, like plus, God damn it, I don't know why all those balloons are going on my screen.
The one thing that links them, balloons.
So, for the listeners, iOS has this update where when you're on a video call and you make certain motions, emojis will show up. So, Gibby gesticulates sometimes and we just get thumbs up emojis or balloons. I'm
never
sorry.
happens to me or
How do you
Bo.
like this one, Apple?
It's just Gibby. Gibby is the only one who summons balloons.
For those who can't see, I am giving the double bird to my MacBook right now. And frankly, I kind of wish it would give it to me back because the passive-aggressive balloons are pissing me off.